Julie Mason, welcome to the Vision Business Community. We're so happy to have you on board because what you do is quite timely in this current COVID-19 crisis period for a lot of our listeners and our viewers. Just explain a little bit about what you do.
So thanks, George, for having me. I'm delighted to be here. And for everybody who's listening, I am known as a LinkedIn sales strategist. I help businesses generate leads and sales on LinkedIn easily and elegantly. So
That
the
sounds so
emphasis
sweet.
there is on elegantly.
It sounds so sweet. I mean, my experiences over the years hasn't led me to believe that anything about social media was elegant. It was look, so and you are different in a way that you specialize in LinkedIn. Is there a reason why you went the LinkedIn road instead of Facebook?
Yeah, look, absolutely. And the main reason simply is that my clients get better results on there. And if you're looking for really good quality clients that pay on time, that are coachable and committed, then I find they show up on LinkedIn. Whereas on Facebook, the types of clients that typically come through there tend to be a bit more tire kicking, a bit more time wasters, not necessarily able to afford higher end services and things like that. So definitely it's a better quality client.
Well, looking at the type of work that you do, I mean, right now, a lot of businesses are pivoting, especially those that have had their physical business gutted because of the COVID-19, and they're looking to segue online, whether it be products or services. How have you been helping people since COVID-19?
Yeah, look, it's predominantly helping them transition across has been mostly with events. So I'll give you a really good example of a very large event that we were helping here in Brisbane, where my client actually had hired me to help her promote this event. She'd hired the Brisbane Convention Centre, quite a large room, very costly investment to do that as well. So there was a bit on the line in making sure that would work. But when she contacted me early in the year, she only had 25 registrations. And so I came in to help her initially to put bums on seats in that event. And then COVID happened. So we took using LinkedIn's new event feature, which we've had just over the last several months. And that's been brilliant to get more brand awareness out for events. And they're now tweaking it even more for online events now due to COVID. Thank God, that's great. But essentially a week before her event, so her event was on the Thursday, and we still had the ability at that point on the Sunday prior to have events for 100 people. And she did have around just over 100 people attending, not more than that, but about 100 people. And she had 15 presenters from around the world. And these were big hitters. We had, the Chief Scientific Officer of Microgravity for NASA. We had the Royal Australian Navy. And there were some big, presenters that were coming on board for this. Mm. And I realized on the Sunday that by Thursday, we weren't going to be able to hold the event. And I said to her on Sunday, I sent her a message and said, look, I think we need to pivot this now. And we need to turn this into a fully online event, no people in the room, so to speak, and create that. And she agreed. By Monday morning, 10 a.m., we had all of the software up for the back end for running it. We had emails going out to all the 15 presenters around the world. And by Thursday, we had it running beautifully. In fact, people who had attended that event the year before and then attended the online version on the Thursday contacted Irina back and said that was actually better than the year before. And, you might find that a little hard to believe because there wasn't that face-to-face networking. But we put in place things like private Facebook groups for the attendees where they could engage with the speakers and ask more questions when there wasn't necessarily time during the live stream. We created a great, chat room for them to ask questions, and we would relay that during the actual event. And so it was a very interactive experience for everybody. It did take a lot of work to coordinate 15 speakers around the world and make sure their audio, as you know, I mean, you're doing a podcast and we've already had a few little tech glitches getting this running, but getting everybody's audio and their technology working within 2 days and making sure everything was seamless for that to run. It was a big thing, but we did it, and we pulled it off seamlessly within 2.5 days. So it was really great example of how you can pivot. Since then, a lot of people have contacted me to help them do very similar things where they're running workshops normally within corporations for their teams, like doing team training, and they're going like, how do we do what you've done for, Irina, for example? How can you do that for us? So, there's been quite a bit of that, but mostly at the moment, I'm getting people asking me to help them generate leads for their business through LinkedIn. That's still, the predominant reason people contact me.
And are these links? These contacts? These leads? Are they mostly business to business, or selling services, by the way, or are they B2B selling products, or B2C?
It's a really great question, George, because a lot of people kind of see LinkedIn as a bit of a business only platform and for only corporate style businesses. But what people fail to realize is that LinkedIn is an incredibly vibrant platform that has such diversity. For example, it's great for health and wellness. I've got a girlfriend, her name's Julie Lewin. She's one of the most world-renowned medical intuitives. She's been recorded on TV and all of this sort of stuff. And people might be asking, what the hell's a medical intuitive? I have her permission to say this, so I can say it with her permission. Basically, she's so far out on the fringes of woo-woo that the oxygen's thin out there, right? It's just,
she's a bit lightheaded too then.
She has this ability to see inside people's bodies to where the disease is actually starting. And she can, and she's been proven by doctors on TV shows to be right.
Wow.
So she's an amazing gift. And she said to me, look, I know that my services are really great for Facebook and all of those other types of networks, but LinkedIn, come on, it's corporate. How's that going to work? And I said, well, let's give it a crack. And literally within 24 hours of updating her profile, she got approached by 2 radio stations to have her own radio show. I mean, 24 hours, 2 radio stations.
Not bad.
And she ended up doing a radio show for CBS Radio with a listening audience of 1.8 million people, just because she updated a LinkedIn profile,
Wow.
So and that's just a really extreme example of, the different types of industries. But if you look up cycling, as in push bike riding, do you know cycling, right?
Yeah.
On LinkedIn, and you search for groups on cycling, there are over 900 groups for cycling on LinkedIn.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
I know, right? There's 1,800 groups for yachts. That's just super yachts, actually. Then there's all the other types of yachts that you can get out there. So if you're in boat building, or you're in construction, or you're in the health and wellness field, if you're in fashion or whatever it might be, it may not be necessarily the platform to sell your clothes, for example, if you're in fashion, but it may be a great platform for you to find distributors or buyers who will stock your fashion into their stores. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. So what if you encounter people that have 2 or 3 different profiles? I mean, one of the limitations of a profile is that you can only showcase one of the things that you're doing well, that's the way I felt when I was drafting my profile. I thought, well, hang on a minute, I'm actually involved in 3 things simultaneously. How do I get the word out in 3 different ways? It doesn't. All
right, great question. And I get this question a lot, so thank you so much for asking it. First of all, there's only one of you as a person physically, so only one LinkedIn profile is all you want. And here's why, because if you have 3 to represent each of your 3 different types of businesses that you run, and let's face it, many of us wear multiple hats and have a couple of different businesses that we have on the run. So it's not an uncommon thing.
Mm.
But if you have 3 different profiles and they're all representing different elements, and somebody goes to search your name on LinkedIn and they see whatever profile turns up first, they'll just click on it. They don't know that you've got 3 different profiles, and so they may be following the wrong profile. You'll be
Right.
confusing people.
It would be.
Right? So
Yeah.
I would encourage you, if anybody's listening to this and you've got multiple profiles, start to merge them. You can go into your account settings on LinkedIn, and they have a feature that allows you to merge duplicate accounts.
All
Really
right.
cool, right? So it allows you to bring all of your connection lists into one platform, into one profile, which is really good. But here's how you use LinkedIn more effectively. So let's say, for example, and we'll use you as example here. Let's say you've got 3 businesses that you're running. What one would be your highest priority that you really need to make money, for example? What would be the one that would be best suited to LinkedIn as an avenue that would help you really create some traction and grow money? Can one, you don't have to mention it, but does one come to mind?
Of course.
Right.
One does.
So then what I suggest to my clients in this instance is that you write your top half of your profile, your headline and your about section about the highest priority one of those 3 businesses. And then in your experience section, and this is where it gets very cool, your experience section, you can have multiple current experiences.
Mm.
And instead of writing your experience like a resume document about the duties that you do in each of those, because frankly, no one really cares about that anyway, use that to showcase the different products or services, or in this case, the different businesses that you have. And you've got 1,800 characters to write out your description for each of those experience sections, where you can really talk more about that product or service that you offer. You can put a call to action in at the bottom of it. So it can really showcase the different diversity that you have in your businesses. Or if you just have one business, but you might have different products or services within that one business that are quite, separate, so to speak, then you might want to actually use one business name, but have really clear descriptions of each of the products and services that you supply in that business. How does that sound?
That sounds good. Sounds
Awesome.
great. I guess the variety of people that we have on our database, our listeners and our viewers, they come from small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and large businesses.
Yep.
And I take it that do you cater for all 3, or you specialize in one or 2?
I can, but my main speciality is small to medium businesses.
Right.
I don't tend to do corporates so much, and a lot of people kind of think, oh, you must be doing corporates all the time. But actually, in reality, the reason I started my original business, which was web design and SEO agency years and years ago, I no longer do that, by the way. When I started that, the reason I got into businesses was because my why, so to speak, was to help small businesses generate, leads and sales using tools that were free or low cost, and they just didn't know how to use them effectively. Right. Because small business is the backbone of our economy, right? And they're also the ones that often get hardest hit when we've got economic impacts like we have at the moment.
Yeah.
And they need to use tools that are not going to be, high cost for them. And LinkedIn is definitely a free tool. You can use the free version. In fact, everything that I teach in my programs can be done on the free version. There are some limitations using LinkedIn's free version, but for the most part, we can get around pretty much all of them. And then, if you do need to upgrade, then you can upgrade appropriately on LinkedIn's platform, whether it's Business Premium or Sales Navigator or whatever that might be. Generally speaking, everything I teach is using the free version of LinkedIn. And
you're not limited to any particular industry?
Well, I think the only person that I've really turned away over the last 10 years that's come to me has been a wedding cake maker. And I said, look, yep, I'm pretty sure, after having a really good conversation with her, and she was really just looking to sell wedding cakes, I said, here's the thing. Wedding cakes are going to work really well on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Pinterest. but people aren't going necessarily to go to LinkedIn and type in wedding cake,
No.
into the search box as much. I think that, I'd rather you focus your attention where your target market are definitely going to be looking for you. And perhaps the money that you would have invested on LinkedIn training, invest that into Google Ads, for example, where people would be going onto Google and searching for those things and looking for people who make wedding cakes. But generally speaking, word of mouth in that would be great on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest.
Yeah.
So, there are some that I turn around, but generally speaking, my clients are, and my own clients have said this to me when they've connected within our community groups and stuff and looked at who the other members in my tribe are. They said I have the most diverse clients that they've ever seen. In my programs, we've got people who do multi-level marketing programs, to limo drivers, to cinematographers, to business coaches and accountants and lawyers. And oh my God, we've got pretty much builders, construction workers, scaffolding, you name it. We've got it in there. And
so your main, I mean, how would you describe, what's the most effective reason, what's the best reason for people to be on LinkedIn? Why would you recommend LinkedIn? What is it that LinkedIn does for people?
Well, there's a couple of things. So first of all, I always say to people, look at the psychology of why people are on those platforms. So if we look at Facebook, and we're just looking at the Australian statistics at the moment, right? So in Australia, we've got 16 million people on Facebook. They're checking in on average 16 times a day, and they're really interested in seeing what their friends and family and their social community is doing. So they're there with a social framework, and business is interrupted, right? Mark Zuckerberg said, about 2 years ago that they were dropping, company page reach to zero. It's sitting at around about 1% to 3% thereabouts, but it's effectively zero. And that if you want to get your business posts up, you need to pay to play in Facebook advertising, right? So when we look at the psychology of users of Facebook, they're there for social first and foremost. Business is interrupting their social feed. But when we look at LinkedIn, we've got 9 million Australians on LinkedIn. On average, 40% of them check into LinkedIn once a day. So it's a slower platform. It's not as fast a speed. People aren't jumping on there 16 times a day like they are on Facebook. They're jumping in, 40% of them are jumping in once a day. But they're coming with a very different mindset. So the psychology of the users on LinkedIn is that they're there specifically to look for products or services that can help them in their business, or information that would help them in their business. So they are coming with a business mindset. And from that part alone, that psychology edge just really gets me excited. The reason I got really excited about LinkedIn when I joined it, about 10 years ago, was I remember somebody telling me when I was at a workshop, they said 73% of the members on LinkedIn are the decision makers in the business. And for me, I literally started salivating, because for those of you who don't know my background, I've been in sales for 25 years. And of those 25 years, I've done 15 years in door-to-door cold calling, to which most people do a collective wow or groan, right?
Yeah, wow.
So
tough gig.
Well, exactly. I used to call myself the queen of rejection. I've had more no's than people have had hot dinners. In fact, probably more no's than people have had meals in their lifetime. And from there, I then found that this guy said to me, LinkedIn, 73% of the decision makers in the business, or the influencers for that decision making, can you imagine how excited I got about that? I was like, yes, no more gatekeepers, no more receptionists telling me there's the door, don't let it hit you on the way out. How exciting is that? So
it is exciting.
I love the fact that I can cut through the noise. I can connect with the person who has the power to make the decision in that business. I can build trust and nurture the relationship and take them from being a connection to having a conversation with me without spamming, might I add, and doing that elegantly. So that's what really excites me.
No, that's terrific. But do you do that on behalf of clients as well? Because a lot of our listeners and viewers, they're time poor.
Yeah, they
So
are. And
maybe,
LinkedIn is a
maybe
big time suck, right?
yeah, well, maybe not so much now. They probably have a bit of extra time on their hands. Who knows?
Yeah.
But but you know, do you engage in conversations with perspectives on behalf of clients?
I don't actually, and
Right.
I will tell you why. So I actually, the things that I do for clients, I have a couple of different programs that people can hit me up on. So if they're looking for, career, if they're unemployed, if you're listening to this and you're unemployed and you really need to position yourself for LinkedIn to get, a job, then I have a program for that called Positioned for Success. And that's really about how to actually find jobs. And interestingly, George, did you know, just on that note, we won't go into that too heavily, did you know that 70% of jobs are not advertised anywhere?
No, no.
70%.
So they're not on Seek
They're
or
not
any other.
anywhere. They're not on LinkedIn. They're not on Seek. They're not on any job platform. Those jobs are filled by word of mouth and networking,
Wow.
right?
Okay.
So if we're seeing 30% of the jobs that are advertised, there's this iceberg underneath that isn't. And so in that program, Position for Success, I really teach people how to find those jobs that are not advertised, how to connect with those ideal people, in organizations, and how to build that relationship so they can position themselves for their dream job. And that's a great opportunity. The other programs that I've got, which are specifically for business owners, which is my heart and soul is in this space, right? Because that's my background in sales, is Link Sales Formula, which takes people through an online program that literally from step by step by step will show them how to position themselves effectively for their product and service, how to articulate their value proposition effectively on LinkedIn, and then how to find their ideal target market. And again, do exactly what I said, take them from connection to building trust to adding value to nurturing that relationship so that you can take them into having a conversation about hiring you for your products and services.
Right.
So there's that program. And then the done for you that I provide, it's really done with you more than anything. It's called LinkedIn Fast Track. And I only take a handful of clients at any one time into this program because I will write your profile and your strategy for you, but I teach you how to implement it. And one of the things that you said in that question, or you asked me in that question, was, do I do the connection and the relationship side? That's the one part that I am always very nervous about doing. I always say to my clients, by all means, hire a VA to do your content creation and create that content, which a lot of people really struggle with. But try not to outsource the relationship, because
Yeah.
here's the thing. Every time I've tried to do this for somebody over the years, inevitably, I don't know who they know. So if I'm reaching out to connect with somebody and I do a stock standard templated, hey, I saw your profile on LinkedIn and I could see there could be some great synergy here. Let's
Yep.
connect on LinkedIn. Inevitably, they know that person that I'm working for, and they'll cause upset and dissension and, angst among the ranks, so to speak. So I always say to people, if possible, try and do the connection part yourself. If you need to then do, segregation of your connections, there are tools like Sales Navigator that allow you to tag your connections. And it's like a built-in sales CRM within Sales Navigator. It's very sexy. That allows you to tag that. And then you can get a VA to come in and they can go, okay, these guys are prospects. These guys are friends. So I want you to work on my prospect tag list and send these messages out to them. Does it make sense? And
It
so
does.
you
It
can
does.
do it a little bit more effectively that way, but you do want to make sure that you're kind of categorizing those relationships on LinkedIn so that if you do outsource that somewhere, that is being more effective.
Got it. Got it. Thank you. So the big question for a lot of listeners would be, okay, sounds really fancy, Julie. I like it. Sounds terrific. Sounds expensive. Like, what is it affordable for small businesses? Are your services affordable for small business owners?
Well, predominantly yes, but for the most part, Link Sales Formula is, I've made that super affordable for pretty much anyone. it's an online program, and here's the difference with this, because I've tried to make this the most supportive online program in the world for small business owners predominantly. And so they can purchase it in full. It gives them 3 payment options. They can purchase in full for $997. They can do 3 payments of $350, or they can do a monthly payment for $97 for 12 months. So $97 for a small business owner is generally pretty affordable.
Yep.
And in that program, not only do they get this very comprehensive step-by-step training, video training program, but every month I do 2 group coaching calls on Zoom where I will answer your questions, critique your profiles, review your strategy. And my goal is to help my clients get results on LinkedIn. So I am fully there. And then we have a private online group where in between those group calls, you can ask me any question, that around your LinkedIn strategy. You can put up your headlines and get feedback, not just from me, but from the community of other members in that program. There's also, I always love seeing my members network with each other, and a lot of business actually happens in that group as well, which is great to see. So it's a really great community, and my goal is to just be really generous with my knowledge and my experience and my time in the most leveraged way I can, right? So I can afford to do that in a leveraged group coaching program. But my members have lifetime access to that program. And I've got members that have been in there for 3, 4, 5 years who still get onto the group coaching calls because it's such value.
Yeah, that's terrific. So that is terrific. So what would be your promise to people
for the program?
Yeah, what's your promise to people?
Well, if they show up with their A game,
yep.
Yeah, I can't guarantee results, and here's why. Because you, the person who are listening to this, you are the wild card. It's up to you to implement the program, right? If you implement it, I guarantee that you'll get results. But if you don't, then it's like buying a gym membership, and 6 months later, after never going to the gym, you complain to the gym member that you're still fat, right? There's no point in buying something unless you're going to implement it and take maximum advantage of it. So
yep.
I always like to say that information is not transformation until it's applied, right? So
Absolutely.
if you want transformation, apply the information that you've got in front of you. It's a rich program. I've been doing this for a long time. All my clients get great results when they implement, right? And if you get stuck, I encourage my members to jump on the group calls, to jump in the private group and ask me questions so it can help you move forward. That's my goal.
I take it your private group is on LinkedIn, not on
It's actually on Facebook. Because
wow.
I know, right? And the reason for that is because LinkedIn groups keep getting broken by LinkedIn. And so again, going back to those statistics, 16 times a day they check in on Facebook, 40% once a day. So I'd much rather be where they're going to be checking in and regularly using it. But we give people every opportunity to ask questions and get support. And I encourage people to do that. In fact, most of my clients, I had one client just last week say, Julie, can we send you extra money because the value that you keep providing in this program is more than we've paid for, and I feel I need to give you extra money. And I said, oh, bless your little heart. No, that's part of my gift to you. But it was so nice that they offered. That was really sweet.
You obviously love
making me tear up, actually.
No,
It's
obvious that you love helping people, and you enjoy seeing them succeed in an area that they wouldn't have without your help.
Well, that's my why. That's what
your
fuels
why.
me.
Yeah. That's terrific. So, Julie, just to finish off our interview, how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, look, really simple. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search for Julie Mason on LinkedIn. I'd love for you to connect with me. Say that you've been on this podcast with George and myself so that I know where you've come from. that would be awesome. And hey, don't forget to connect with George on LinkedIn as well. We're
Oh,
going to
thank you.
boost your connections up a little bit there too, George.
Yeah,
That would be great.
you've noticed, have you? Uh,
But look, it's a great place for you to start. You know, have a look at my profile, read some of the articles that I've written there, and you know, there's some really great articles on there on like tips on how to connect with people, and some great scripts that I've put in there for messages and things like that. So definitely check those out. But hey, connect with me on LinkedIn is a great place to start.
Julie, thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thanks so much for having
You
me.
take care.
I will.